The announcement of an early election has sent shockwaves across the Canadian political landscape, leaving both the electorate and the political elite scrambling to recalibrate their strategies. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, leader of the Liberal Party, has reportedly been caught off guard by this unexpected development, sparking speculation about the readiness of his government to face the challenges of an accelerated campaign. Early elections often come as a result of strategic calculations, political crises, or an attempt to capitalize on a momentary advantage, but their suddenness invariably disrupts established timelines and planned initiatives. For Trudeau, whose tenure has been marked by a mix of celebrated accomplishments and contentious controversies, the early election could either serve as a chance to consolidate power, or as a perilous gamble threatening to erode his party and #039's standing. The timing of the announcement is curious and raises questions about the underlying motives of its initiators. Speculation abounds that opposition parties, particularly the Conservatives and the New Democrats, have orchestrated this move in response to perceived vulnerabilities in Trudeau and #039's leadership. The Conservatives, under their leader, may view this as an opportunity to highlight the Liberals and #039 perceived shortcomings, including their handling of economic issues, housing affordability, and relations with Indigenous communities. Similarly, the New Democrats, led by Jagmeet Singh, might see this as a moment to present themselves as the true progressive alternative, emphasizing issues like wealth redistribution, climate action, and social equity. The Bloc Québécois and the Green Party, though smaller players, are unlikely to sit idly by, as both seek to solidify their influence and carve out significant roles in a potential minority government scenario. For Trudeau, the early election represents a dual-edged sword. On one hand, it provides an opportunity to renew his mandate and reassert the Liberal Party and #039's vision for Canada. Since his first victory in 2015, Trudeau has cultivated an image as a progressive leader who champions diversity, inclusivity, and sustainability. Key achievements such as the legalization of cannabis, robust pandemic management, and advancements in gender equality remain points of pride for his supporters. However, his government has also faced criticism for perceived ethical lapses, including the SNC-Lavalin affair and the We Charity controversy. These incidents, coupled with a growing sense of fatigue among some segments of the electorate, have cast a shadow over Trudeau and #039's once unassailable popularity. The question now is whether Canadians still view him as the leader best suited to navigate the complex challenges of the future. The early election also places unprecedented pressure on campaign strategies, as all parties must accelerate their preparations. Traditionally, political campaigns are meticulously planned over several months, allowing candidates to refine their messaging, train their teams, and build grassroots momentum. An early election compresses these timelines, forcing parties to make quick decisions that could have long-term repercussions. For the Liberals, this means mobilizing their base and focusing on key battleground ridings, particularly in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia, where elections are often won or lost. The Conservatives, on the other hand, are likely to emphasize economic stewardship, positioning themselves as the party of fiscal responsibility amidst rising inflation and economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, the New Democrats may focus on mobilizing younger voters and progressive Canadians, drawing attention to policies that resonate with these demographics. Another factor complicating the election landscape is the role of technology and social media. In recent years, the digital arena has become a critical battleground for political campaigns, with parties leveraging platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok to connect with voters and shape narratives. However, the rapid pace of an early election means that parties must be even more agile in responding to online discourse, countering misinformation, and capitalizing on viral moments. The Liberals, who have traditionally excelled in this domain, may find themselves challenged by a reinvigorated opposition that has learned to harness these tools more effectively. Furthermore, the potential for cyber interference or the spread of divisive rhetoric adds an additional layer of complexity, highlighting the need for vigilance and transparency. Beyond the immediate political ramifications, the early election raises broader questions about governance and democratic accountability. Critics argue that calling an election prematurely undermines the principle of stability, particularly at a time when many Canadians are grappling with pressing issues such as healthcare access, climate change, and economic recovery. Others, however, view it as a legitimate exercise in democracy, allowing citizens to have their say on the direction of the country. The truth likely lies somewhere in between, as the timing of elections is as much about political strategy as it is about public interest. For voters, the challenge is to sift through the noise and focus on the policies and platforms that align with their values and priorities. The impact of the early election on voter turnout cannot be overstated. Historically, sudden elections often see lower participation rates, as many citizens are caught unprepared or feel disengaged from the process. This phenomenon is particularly pronounced among marginalized communities, who may face additional barriers to voting, such as lack of information, transportation challenges, or feelings of political alienation. To counteract this, all parties must prioritize voter engagement and education, ensuring that their messages reach every corner of the electorate. Innovative approaches, such as mobile voting stations, expanded mail-in ballots, and targeted outreach campaigns, could play a crucial role in boosting turnout and enhancing the legitimacy of the electoral process. As the campaign unfolds, the personal dynamics between party leaders will also come under intense scrutiny. Trudeau, known for his charisma and ability to connect with voters, must contend with the perception that his leadership has grown stale. His opponents will undoubtedly seek to exploit this, framing him as out of touch or overly reliant on image over substance. Conversely, the leaders of opposition parties face their own challenges. The Conservative leader, for instance, must balance appealing to the party and #039's traditional base with broadening its appeal to moderate voters. Similarly, Jagmeet Singh must navigate the delicate task of distinguishing the New Democrats from the Liberals without alienating potential allies in a future coalition scenario. These dynamics will be on full display during televised debates, where moments of brilliance or missteps can define the trajectory of the campaign. Economic issues are likely to dominate the election discourse, as Canadians grapple with the rising cost of living, housing shortages, and concerns about job security. The Liberals will likely emphasize their investments in infrastructure, social programs, and green energy as evidence of their commitment to building a resilient and inclusive economy. The Conservatives, in contrast, may advocate for tax cuts, reduced government spending, and policies aimed at boosting private sector growth. The New Democrats, true to their progressive roots, are expected to champion wealth redistribution measures, such as higher taxes on corporations and the ultra-wealthy. While these approaches differ significantly, they all reflect the underlying urgency of addressing economic disparities and fostering long-term prosperity. Climate change is another issue that cannot be ignored, particularly as Canada experiences the tangible effects of global warming, from wildfires to extreme weather events. Trudeau and #039's Liberals have positioned themselves as leaders in climate action, introducing policies such as carbon pricing and commitments to net zero emissions. However, critics argue that these measures fall short of the transformative change needed to avert a climate crisis. Opposition parties will likely seize on this perceived gap, offering their own visions for a sustainable future. For voters, the challenge is to discern which party not only has the most ambitious plan, but also the credibility and capacity to implement it effectively. In the end, the early election is as much about the future of Canada as it is about the fate of its political leaders. It is a moment of reckoning, where the decisions made by voters will shape the nation and #039's trajectory for years to come. Whether the result is a renewed mandate for the Liberals, a shift to Conservative leadership, or a fractured parliament requiring cross-party cooperation, one thing is certain: the road ahead will be defined by uncertainty, opportunity, and the collective will of the Canadian people.